For more than the last 5 years, I've been living out of a suitcase. I've worked from cafes in Vietnam, beaches in the Canary Islands, riads in Morocco, and even ski resorts in Austria. It's been an incredible journey, but looking back, there's a huge difference between the places I just visited and the places I actually lived. And the difference wasn't the food or the weather or the internet connection. More often than not, it came down to language. Today I'm going to share my lessons I learned about language learning that changed how I travel, and why my 2 favorite countries in the world happen to be the ones where I broke my own rules. Let's start with the first and maybe most painful lesson: the immersion myth. I'm a strong believer of immersion techniques, meaning you get lots and lots of input in the language and your brain naturally deciphers different grammar patterns and vocabulary for you. However, just going to a new country does not mean you immerse. Sure, you hear people speaking here and there or have announcements in the metro, but that's not enough. Last fall, my girlfriend and I went to Busan and Seoul in South Korea. We left 6 weeks later knowing exactly 2 words. The same 2 words we knew before even boarding the plane. Ohanghaseyo and Kamsamida. So I was physically present in Korea, but not mentally present to learn the language. I realized long ago that immersion can be too passive. Being in a different country doesn't teach you the language. You teach you the language. The country just gives you the opportunity to practice. The immersion you can receive in a new country is reduced to background noise unless you actively engage with it. You need to want to learn and use comprehensible input, meaning language that is just slightly above your level, to understand messages. Without that, you will not really absorb any of the language. And this directly leads me to the second lesson, which explains why it's so easy today to fail at immersion. The English bubble paradox. When I started traveling, I expected that traveling kind of forces you to learn the local language. But the reality is often the opposite. English is so dominant, especially in like the backpacker and digital nomad communities, that it often becomes a barrier to learn anything else. It's the path of least resistance. You walk into a hostel in Cusco or a co-working space in Lisbon, and the default setting is English. Almost everyone speaks it, at least much better than you speak the local language. In fact, depending on the country, it can be even harder to practice the local language in tourist areas because everyone wants to practice their English with you. And yeah, you have to actively fight against that convenience. You kinda have to be the stubborn one who orders in Portuguese even when the waiter switches to English. You have to leave the popular spots and venture a bit further out to find people who actually need you to speak their language. But when you do break out of that bubble, you realize something profound. And that's lesson number 3. Language is a respect multiplier. The degree depends on the individual country, but generally everyone is happy if you speak their language.
Now it's time for the funnest part of the review. Let's talk about the shock factor. How will native Chinese speakers react to you speaking their language as a foreigner? Even though Chinese is a global language with over 1 billion speakers, the truth is that not a lot of foreigners ever reach a conversational level. So if you're a foreigner and you whip out Mandarin Chinese with an excusable accent at a decent level, native speakers will literally do triple backflips, start Fortnite building IRL, scream, give you money, invite you to their homes, name their firstborn after you, shower you with gifts, give you diamond armor, hand you the deed to their house, and even evaporate out of pure excitement the moment you can hold a basic conversation in their language.
So yeah, even if you're just learning a tiny amount of the local language, it often can dramatically change how you are treated. It's not just appreciation, it often unlocks a completely different level of hospitality. When you speak English, you're a tourist, and some will even see you as just a customer, a transaction. But when you use the local language, you signal, I'm not just here to consume, I'm here to understand. I had many situations in Peru where someone sees my gringo face and is a little bit distant at first, but then completely changes their behavior when they realize that I speak Spanish. I will never forget this older lady at the market who told me that I dominate the Spanish language after ordering a few vegetables and fruits at her stall. Like, I don't know, that was amazing. Or this taxi driver who offered me free rides in exchange for English lessons after he realized that I speak Spanish. He suddenly turned the whole ride into almost like a guided tour. Like, he gave me so many tips on restaurants where I should go, what other places I should see. It simply was different. And you don't need to be fluent for that. You just need to show that you respect their culture enough to meet them halfway. And then you just mix the languages a little bit. Some English, some Spanish, and they are doing the same, which turns the whole transaction into more of an interaction, into something that is more connecting. Which brings me to lesson number 4, and the reason my travel experience changed forever. The anchor. This one is definitely personal. For the first few years of my digital nomad life, I was mostly chasing good weather and freedom, but something was missing. I was really only skimming the surface of any of the places I visited. Then I met my girlfriend, who is Peruvian. At that point, Spanish stopped being just a useful skill among others. It became the key to understanding the person I loved and the ability to interact with her friends and family. It became a complete emotional necessity. It became my anchor. Having this deep personal why is infinitely more powerful than just, it would be nice to know. It's what made me push through learning plateaus. Nowadays, I can confidently say that Peru and Spain are my 2 favorite countries in the world. The big question is, did I learn Spanish because I loved these countries, or do I love them because I learned Spanish? The answer is a little bit of both. Being able to speak the local language has a tremendous effect on how much I like a place. It allows you to participate in a completely different way. I also do believe that without this strong motivational, emotional anchor that I had, I would have not fallen in love with learning languages like that. And I would also probably have given up on it at some point. But now, after I learned Spanish, I really my love for languages has blossomed, and now I'm learning Japanese and I want to learn other language after that. So yeah, it had a profound impact on my life. Now let's talk a bit about how to learn when you plan to visit a new country and want to integrate yourself more deeply. Lesson number 5 is about efficiency. A very easy rule of thumb to follow is the 80-20 rule of travel language. Don't waste your time worrying about conjugations and tenses in the beginning. When traveling, more vocabulary beats more grammar every single time. Knowing key nouns and verbs in their infinitive gets you 80% of the way in daily interactions. Water, bathroom, how much, please, delicious. People are incredibly good at guessing context. If you say bus, center, now, everyone knows what you mean. It's not elegant, but it works. Words that tell time are also super helpful. Yesterday I eat pasta, or tomorrow I train in the gym are grammatically incorrect, but absolutely everyone will understand. So the main idea here is to focus on function over form. Don't let the fear of sounding like a beginner stop you from communicating. After all, you are a beginner. If you want more meaningful conversations from the start instead of just the bare basics, try this strategy. Lesson 6 is preloading. What I mean by this is just learn the basics before arriving. This is the strategy that I used both when traveling to France and when I went to Spain for the first time. I had learned French in school years ago, so I spent a few weeks before the trip just refreshing it on apps, listening to podcasts, and getting back to maybe at least a A1 level. This little preparation made a huge difference because it allowed me to soak up some of that immersion. In other places like South Korea or Serbia, I had no basis whatsoever, and so I didn't learn anything. This can be fine, by the way. I don't say you need to learn the language of every country that you are visiting. I definitely don't do that either. But when I plan to come back or stay longer, I try to put in some effort. With immersion, you have 2 different paths basically. Either build the basics at home and then immerse in the country, or immerse from day one, but with level appropriate content, not with natives blasting out their language at top speed, because then your immersion just, again, turns into noise. If you do it right, however, immersion is the biggest accelerant. So yeah, basically what I want to say is if you can get to an A1 or A2 level before visiting the country, your time there will be infinitely more valuable. In 2026, we have some incredible tools to help us with exactly that, but we often use them wrong, which is lesson number 7. Technology as a tool, not a crutch. We all basically have a supercomputer in our pocket that can translate anything instantly, and it's tempting to simply rely on that. But you should really only do that in moderation. Translation apps are amazing for specifics, but terrible for connection. If you just type a sentence and shove the screen in someone's face, well, that doesn't seem like a proper connection. When I started building Langia a couple of years ago, I wanted a tool that didn't just translate for me, but helped me actually acquire the language through content I cared about. With Langia, you can import any web article, book, or other text you're interested in. Instead of just giving you a translation, it simplifies the text to your level, gives you context for specific words, and creates flashcards with a single click. It's built for that stage where you're moving beyond the basics and want to start consuming real content without getting overwhelmed. You can search through podcasts and get interactive transcripts, read the daily stories that are based on your interest and level, and so much more. I had my anchor that made me really want to learn Spanish. The motivation was so strong that I built my own platform for learning languages through Input. And for the past year, my girlfriend and I have been working on it full time, while still traveling the world. I added Japanese as my next language after Spanish because I've been to Japan 3 times and would like to go back, and she first dabbled in Italian and is now learning my native German. So yeah, long story short, use tech to facilitate your learning. Learn with content you enjoy, look up the word you need, listen to the pronunciation, but then put the phone away and try to say it yourself. I mean, even if you mess it up, there's nothing that connects better than you trying, failing, laughing together with someone about it, and then getting taught by the local how to do it right. Lesson number 8, human fluency. This one is a little bit out of the box. You don't need to be fluent in any language to travel well, not even English. You just need to be functionally adaptable. The real skill you need to do well outside of your home country is human fluency. It's using body language, tone, intuition, and shared context to communicate. Understanding universal cues like frustration, curiosity, hospitality is more valuable than anything. If you can't understand and represent these cues, you probably have more problems than not understanding the local language. Lesson number 9 is the outsider trap. Living like a digital nomad definitely has its challenges. It can be lonely, relationships can be fleeting, and it's easy to feel like you're always an outsider, because, well, you pretty much are. Language is the bridge to belonging that you need to build if you plan to stay somewhere and really live, not just visit. Without it, you're always an observer. With it, you can become a participant. And so we finally arrive at the last lesson, lesson number 10. Just start. Don't fall into the trap of I learn it when I get there. Don't wait for the perfect time to start learning. Don't wait until you book the flight. Don't wait until you're there, or you will just fall into the English bubble that is hard to climb out of. Embrace the messy, imperfect process and enjoy the small wins. The first time you understand a joke, the first time you give directions to someone else, and of course, the first time getting complimented by the old lady at the fruit market for your language skills. If you want to know one of the most effective ways to immerse yourself before you even leave your house, a method that taught an entire generation English without them even realizing it, you need to check out my video on how video games might be the ultimate language teacher. Safe travels, and I see you in the next one.